What's going on, Star Wars fans? Welcome to Star Wars Doctrine's podcast. Been a minute since we've done a little bit longer of one, and we're excited to get back into it, guys. We have been talking a lot together about the Vanity Fair article that came out, and I know we posted that on the page, and you guys left some awesome comments. We had some good discussions going on what that means, but we haven't really had a chance to just kind of talk about it in the podcast yet. So although we're a little late to the party, we wanted to talk about some of our thoughts on these pictures and what they could mean for 9, because obviously it's probably one of the most exciting things to happen since the trailer involving 9. So there's a lot of good stuff, and let's talk about some of these pictures.
All right, just starting it off, have to mention it's great to see Lando back in the Falcon. Him and Chewie together again is just a great shot, and I like Poe as kind of adding into that mix, and I hope that's a dynamic we get to see either kind of capstoned at the end of the movie, that they're kind of together and that's the new trio aboard the Falcon, or just cool seeing those three together, kind of legendary pilots in their own regard.
It's interesting that Chewie's not the one in the co-pilot seat.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
That is kind of weird. Kind of think about that.
Yeah, kind of upset actually. Why'd you say that?
Sorry. Yeah, no,
I just
barely said that, but I mean, because it's like, well, I don't know. Like, I thought of this question, like, at the end of Episode 9, who should the Falcon belong to?
And to me, it's got to go to Chewie and Lando.
Okay.
Like, it can't, unless of course they kill Lando. So
yeah, so they better not kill Chewie.
Bro, that would be too soon.
But no, like, I think, to me, I'm like, okay, Chewie should get the Falcon. He's been the first mate, like the co-pilot forever, and with Han dying, like, it's like it should go to Chewie. And I think it did, from what we've heard. But the only thing I don't know is, like, Lando kind of does make an interesting spin in that. Like, technically it's not rightfully his, like, because Han won it and everything, and I think Lando would be respectful of that. But you never know, you might get some jokes in there like, hey, how's my ship, like how
there
he
definitely
talks.
Should be for, so it'll just be nice, and I like the dynamic that this photo could bring for the movie. The next one we got is Carrie Russell. Her character finally has a name. You want to pronounce that?
Zori Bliss. It's interesting. It's not Mara Jade. Darn it.
That's honestly the biggest disappointment in the world.
Yeah.
But
they just had to codename her Mara, didn't they?
That was unfair. But kind of interesting, we got her helmet, which looks huge.
Yeah, well, the front looks really cool. It's the back, to me, that's, like, really long. And
you gotta have a headache after carrying that.
Yeah, it doesn't look comfortable. But it looks like a really cool-looking outfit. The colors are cool.
Yeah, and then just new planet that we're getting introduced to, and I think it's probably the planet we see that ship fly over in the trailer.
You know what? I didn't think about that till you said that. That's a good point. It's got the snowy look to it.
Yeah, kind of snowy, and it's definitely a castle. They're calling it the Thieves' Quarter, but kind of castle-y, sort of rustic looking. That seemed similar to the geography in the film and the trailer. They're calling it Kijimi. I don't know.
Interesting. That would be interesting to see how they pronounce that. That's the name of the planet. No, I like planets like this. I like the snow feel to it. What did you say? The Thieves' Quarters?
Is what they're saying it.
That's interesting, because there's been a lot of rumors about Carrie Russell's character being a bounty hunter type of kind of person. Like a little bit of a scoundrel.
She has to be.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Next one is the weird horses that we got Finn and the new friend Jana.
Yeah.
Got them riding, and she's rocking a bow, which is weird, but
it's interesting for Star Wars. I guess we thought we had bow casters that shoot lasers, but that's a little different than what this looks like. This looks like a full-on bow and arrow. I'm hoping there's like a bomb or something connected to that arrow, that it's not just an actual arrow. Otherwise, that would be just kind of weird.
Maybe they're going on a hunting trip.
Yeah. Well, I don't know, like, what's the obsession right now with Star Wars and horses? Like, because Last Jedi had that.
Weird they weren't horses.
Yeah, they weren't horses, but these aren't either.
Riding.
I thought it was cool though how they actually used real horses and then CGI'd their faces to make these creatures, but
they're weird.
But yeah, it's kind of strange. Like, I guess there's always been tauntauns and different horses things, but to me, with these things look so much like horses that it kind of pulls me out of Star Wars. Not gonna lie.
No,
like,
I agree.
It kind of feels more like it's on Earth, and I don't really like that, to be honest.
I'm going that they might have a rural vibe. That's why she's rocking a bow and arrow. So wherever Finn is, it's kind of more rural, so maybe kind of they need horse-ish animals, but I agree.
Yeah.
It's kind of awkward. I feel like they didn't try hard enough to make this Star Wars-y.
Yeah, it doesn't seem as alien. I mean, I don't know. We'll see how they do it. We'll see how they do it.
We'll see in the film. It's always different, right?
But they're pretty.
They're pretty neat. And then last one I just want to quick mention was the photo with the First Order leaders. So we got General Hux and a new title, Allegiant General Pride, who's played by Richard E. Grant. So that's cool. We got to finally figure out who he was.
Yeah, who his character was, because we've known he's going to be in it for a while. Obviously, an iconic person to be in it.
I'm excited. I think he looks, from this picture, it looks like he's doing his role well. Hux looks like he's scared like a little baby, like normal.
Oh, he looks like a bad A. I heard someone said that when, maybe I shouldn't say this, but I heard one of the comments was that guy looks like he could be a Thrawn, which obviously he would be blue if he was Thrawn, but he presents himself in that way, which just gives the idea that he could be a total bad A, First Order character, which would be cool.
Kind of like a General Tarkin or a Moff Tarkin.
Yeah, exactly. That puts the hammer down, tough guy. Kind of you're scared of him,
which would be good because honestly, the First Order has seemed quite laughable at this point. Hux is not intimidating.
He's not an intimidating guy at all.
And I do find it interesting, though. This is something I actually kind of have a problem with 9 is just from this, we've told you 3 new characters. Yeah. We've never heard of before, never seen of before, had zero inkling that they existed. Especially something that bothers me is with General Pride. I get the vibe that there's no one over Hux.
Yeah, at least that's how it's been.
In 7 and 8.
Sure. Yeah.
But
Hux and Kylo were second in command to Snoke is what it felt like, right?
Exactly. I mean, we see in 8, we see Hux is ordering, I don't remember his name, so if you drop in the comments, the commander of the Dreadnought responds to Hux.
Right. Hux is
over even him with the cool, scary ship.
But when you have an Allegiant General as a title, it makes it sound like he's over Hux, right?
Exactly. So that's kind of questioning that where has this rest of the First Order been? But I guess I'm a little worried about what it's going to be trying to capstone the movie off.
But then also introducing new people.
Several new characters. I mean, Lando's not a new character, but
how big of a role these guys play. Because there's always new characters, but normally it's you don't find out their names until the visual guide comes out or the books. These guys are people who seem like they're going to have main roles, so that is interesting. I agree with that.
For example, I know Janna, who's the one pictured riding with Finn, was on stage at Celebration.
Jaina, whatever it is.
Maybe it's Jaina, I don't know. She was on stage in Celebration.
So she's obviously going to have a major role.
So I don't know. Just kind of interesting.
Sounds like Carrie Russell will as well. Sounds like it. That's from how much she's been talked about. But the other thing too with the Allegiant General, it's maybe Kylo just barely promoted him now that he's the Supreme Leader because him and Hux don't really see eye to eye. Maybe he put someone above Hux, so maybe Hux got demoted or something. I don't know.
That's possible.
The other thing I want to point out too that's interesting, that picture to me, is that it really looks like, and it could be foreshadowing, it could not be. Looks like Hux is in the background and just kind of distant from this guy. Kind of looks like the look on his face. I don't know. I get the vibe that he doesn't like this guy, or he's distancing himself from this guy.
Kind of afraid of him, even.
Maybe afraid of him. Maybe upset that he's took his place. Something. There's something there. You don't look at those two and look at the face expressions and think, yeah, these guys are on the same team who are just gonna be bad A together. And there's something off. I don't know what it is, but there's something.
No, I agree. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with all these new characters, and not really a new character, but we have the Knights of Ren that we're going to finally figure stuff out about.
Right, finally.
So before jumping into that, we're going to say we have a couple theories now based on these pictures, highlighting just some small details and seeing what we think. So we'll start off, like we said, with the Knights of Ren, who we're finally going to see besides in a backflash.
I know. Interesting enough, and obviously you guys have seen it on our page and probably other pages. It's gone around quite a bit. This guy, the Knights of Ren here, that's kind of the main focus of the pictures, holding a staff that appears in Solo as well. And I've seen lots of people who are like, no, it's not quite the same. But honestly, if you put them up pretty close, they are honestly almost identical. And even if they're a little different, to me, it's I don't know. You have to think it's either something or just a reuse of a prop.
Even if it's different, it looks slightly different. I mean, there's
close.
50 years, 40 something years.
That's true.
In between, things look a little different after 40 years.
Yeah. Yeah,
Except
that's
for
the thing.
Anakin's lightsaber.
If they aren't, yeah, that one's perfect. But if that is not the same one, I still feel like it's a reuse of a prop, because if it doesn't have a in-universe explanation, I don't know, but it still looks like the identical prop.
So what's the theory for the in-universe explanation then?
I have no clue, because that's what we're talking about. So I guess Dryden Voss is dead. That was his, right? It was next to that bounty hunter gear.
Exactly. So we have...
And Kira took over for Dryden Voss. Obviously, we don't know what's going on with that. Mm-hmm. So maybe it became hers.
We know, Maul ran the Crimson Dawn Syndicate in that time period.
Right.
So he's definitely the leader, but we do know he dies shortly after that, because he goes to confront Obi-Wan on Tatooine, and Obi-Wan kills him in Rebels.
Yep.
So that's... so that kind of leads me to wonder what happened to this order.
All this stuff,
Did it just kind of dissipate because it's not necessarily part of the Empire?
Right, the Crimson Dawn... The syndicates could still be a thing.
Exactly, there's
the
definitely
Hutts obviously are a crime syndicate, crime lords that lasted forever. Probably still going on, the other Hutts.
Exactly, so I think there's a great chance that there's obviously going to be an underworld everywhere, so maybe there's some connection to either where Kylo Ren sent them, but I'm pretty sure the staff you can actually see in Episode 7 too in the flashback.
Oh, really?
If you zoom in really close, you can actually see in Episode 7's flashback. So I'm thinking it's...
Interesting.
That's just really weird, because Episode 7 is obviously shot before Solo.
So maybe Solo
is it a reuse of a reuse of a prop?
It's a reuse-ception. That's interesting. It'd be interesting to see. I'm excited about that, just because...
Knights of Ren really could just be a bounty hunter group by another syndicate.
It could, and Kylo
passed
could
on
have...
from...
Yeah, because, some of them might be Force-sensitive. We don't know, or they're not necessarily Sith or anything, or they're not using lightsabers. They don't appear to be like a Force-wielding character, so they totally could be like Kylo takes over a crime syndicate.
And it would kind of be ironic or interesting if he wound up with a syndicate that his father briefly worked for. With Han working for Crimson Dawn.
Yes. Okay, I didn't put that together.
And his father's former love interest was literally the head of it.
That's true.
So that'd be kind of interesting, and I think kind of a cool spin with Solo.
I hope that there's some sort of connection. Even if it's little, it'll just be fun.
I really don't want it to just be random.
Yeah, if it's not, I'm just going to be like, really, guys?
Disappointed. Millions of dollars.
All right, what we got next?
All right, the next one. The probably most talked about photo, right?
Yeah.
We have Kylo Ren and Rey and lots of water.
Vanity Fair titled it Star-Crossed. It's kind of cool. They kind of had that whole thing going with like one cover with Rey, one cover with Kylo, and
it's really neat.
Lots to say about this.
Yeah, the article that Vanity Fair just talked about them being in love, so I didn't really...
Okay, well, I didn't directly say in love, but Kylo does say they're, what do you call it? They're maybe...
There's a stronger...
He said their maybe bond is going to turn out to run even deeper than previously revealed. We don't necessarily know that means their love bond. It could just mean their Force visions or their Force bond where they see each other.
Exactly. We do know that was perpetuated beyond Snoke's lifetime.
Oh, yeah, because...
Assuming Snoke died.
Yeah, right. Well, and at the end of Episode 8, they're still seeing each other in the bond, and Snoke's gone. So yeah,
probably
that's
gone.
a good point. So I kind of, at the end of 8, I was like, they're not going to have any more connections with the Force, because she kind of closes the Falcon door on him. And it kind of gave that feeling like, exactly, like, okay, we're done with this. But sounds like that maybe is coming back. But what about the picture itself? So one thing I'd like to point out, obviously they're standing on top of something and it's covered in water. I've seen comments after comments about it. It could be the Death Star. And because we've seen the Death Star in that water shot, where it's underwater, which obviously makes sense. So
gonna go with it's definitely someplace that has water.
Good thinking. But personally, the more I look at it, the more I think my theory is that it's actually the Falcon. I think they're on top of the Millennium Falcon because it just kind of has that look to it. I mean, I'm not saying the Death Star couldn't look like that, but it does look more to me like it's the Falcon, like the texture of the top.
I agree. No, looking at it, zooming in, if you guys want to zoom in on your own photos, it definitely has kind of that where the Falcon has... They look a little close together for me, but it definitely looks like the ridges are similar to the Falcon.
I'm just thinking of playing it on Battlefront when you're on top of the Falcon. It looks a lot like that.
That's true. And also something I think is interesting, if you want to look at that, to me it doesn't seem like this looks very broken.
That's true.
And
like
if it is a part of a Death Star,
pretty broken.
Exactly.
Looks intact in there. Well, and the interesting thing is we've talked about this before on our page and in this podcast, me and you, is that there was the idea for the underwater Death Star started in the drawings and the storyboard for episode 7, and J.J. Abrams actually planned on the Falcon going underwater to explore it. And the ship could go underwater, so it's like, okay, maybe the ship's just floating on water right here, and then it's also storming, and they're on top of it. So that's kind of my thoughts with that. But
I do think this is leading up to, if not the final battle for episode 9.
Okay.
I'm going to go with it's not the final battle, but I do think it's
leading up to it.
Leading up to it, kind of towards the end of the movie, because, I mean, with this right here, I'm guessing it's definitely on Endor. I'm guessing it's either the Death Star or it's the Falcon. Let's go with it's the Falcon, right? Not to steal your thunder, but I mean, I don't think they're fighting each other.
Yeah, no, that's one thing we've been talking about too. It's like everyone's been saying that this is a duel between them, but the more like I don't see that. Number one, they're not very close together for a duel. I mean, I guess I don't know.
I don't know how close you want to stand, but yeah.
Well, it looks like she's about to block, and he's not like swinging at her yet. It's a weird position to me. I could be wrong. This could just be a still frame of them about to attack each other. But yeah, like, and it doesn't really look like she's looking at him to me when I zoomed in. But I could, like I said, I could be wrong. But I was getting the vibe that they're not necessarily fighting each other, and that there's something else going on around them or in the middle of them.
Right. I mean, we do know something important is it's a very common thing for people to release photos or even trailers and Photoshop parts out of it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
I mean, for example, all you have to do is think about Infinity War. If you pay attention to that trailer for the Avengers, there's actually so many parts that have been Photoshopped in and Photoshopped out of it.
In the trailer?
So that way you didn't know what was going on for the film.
Right, because you don't want to spoil the whole main plot lines. Like, if Palpatine's in the middle of these guys, you're obviously not going to show that. You know what I'm saying?
That would be ridiculous.
Yeah.
And so I do think something's very possible. I mean, Rey's not looking at Kylo. Kylo's looking more in the direction of her, but this is either some terrible choreography, which I hope not, please.
We don't need that.
There's already questionable enough choreography. Or it's something else is going on, and I do think that, and that's kind of why I think with your theory that they're facing off with maybe something else. They could be defending the Falcon.
Yeah.
Right? And if they just got to the Death Star or just leaving the Death Star, I'd imagine there's going to be some sort of opposition, right? You don't show up at this Death Star with Palpatine's laugh and be like, just waltz in and waltz out and you're good. So I think them kind of coming together and having this sort of big event is definitely going to be leading up to the finale, but I don't think the finale will take here.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see what happens if we're on point on any of that. Of course, we're probably not. So
one thing I do want to point out, though, is Kylo's not wearing his helmet.
Yeah, that's true. Good thought.
I'm curious where his helmet's going.
Yeah, well,
we haven't seen Kylo wear his helmet.
Yeah.
In any
we just saw it get reported. There is some obviously the toys. The packaging for the toy showed him wearing it.
Exactly.
There's also
a Disney
released
poster.
Yeah, exactly. The Disney poster where he's
Kylo's
wearing
helmet's
it.
like all repaired and it's holding his lightsaber.
It looks cool, but yeah, it's interesting because we haven't seen him actually wearing it in any pictures or video footage yet. But
maybe he's just gonna hang it up.
It's just for decoration.
Exactly. He's like, this looks cute
in his castle. All right.
So, and then the final one we want to hit is good old Luke Skywalker, and this one I'm pretty excited about because we just don't know what the heck's going on with Luke Skywalker. I mean, we're all assuming he's dead, and I'm probably going to agree that he is dead.
Yeah.
And that's also one with the Force, or Force with one with him.
This is one of the prettiest pictures of all of them, honestly.
It's a gorgeous shot.
Yeah.
And I think something that is really important to me is it has R2-D2 in it, which he's been extremely lacking from the sequels.
Yeah.
So more screen time of R2 would be good. He's also not in the trailer.
Yeah.
So getting more R2 is really important to me. And I think I kind of have a theory about this. And it's about how we're going to see Luke Skywalker in Episode 9. So I'm thinking with Episode 8, we saw Yoda come back as a Force ghost, but being more present than kind of ever before, right?
Yeah, well, he could use lightning and kind of affect, right, the real world.
Exactly, even freaking hit Luke on the nose.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
Right, so he was able to physically interact.
Which is as far as we know, a step past what's happened before.
Right. I mean, did you see, like, Obi-Wan, for example, in episode 6?
Sits on a log.
He sits on a log. I actually feel like you hear him cracking on twigs.
Oh, really?
I feel like that's real, but I mean, Luke's walking at the same time, so it's kind of hard to say. But for the most part, they've been very unfazed by the nature kind of around them. But an important part is this is definitely not Luke in a flashback. Or if it is, it's a very strange flashback. And because Luke's hair is too long, is too old in this to be a shot from the temple.
Right, because in the temple he had the short cut hair, and the beard that was nice looking, and he didn't look as old, and different Jedi robes as well.
So I mean, with this sort of outfit and his appearance, to me it seems like it has to be after 8.
It definitely looks like it's not a flashback, which my first instinct until you brought that up was to think it would be a flashback to the temple scene because there's fire in the background or whatever.
Exactly.
But yeah, it couldn't be because, I mean, yeah, he looks totally different. He looks old.
And also with R2, I mean, we pretty much know R2 basically stays with Leia and when Luke Skywalker jets out. So it's likely doesn't happen on some time that we haven't seen before.
Right, like not Octu or...
Yeah, when they weren't together long enough. Mm-hmm. So I guess my theory is that Luke Skywalker has figured out a way to come back as a Force ghost and be the most powerful Force ghost we've ever seen, which would be really cool.
I hope
tying
so.
it back into Obi-Wan telling Darth Vader that he will be more powerful than Vader can even imagine.
Yeah. This,
I think, to me, would be the first time you really see a Force ghost actually being powerful.
Yeah, that's true. It's like, how are you more powerful if you're just a ghost?
Exactly, right? I mean, Obi-Wan just kind of gives good tips on the sidelines.
Right.
I don't know if that's exactly more powerful.
It's nice that he can be with Luke always, anytime he needs him, like, give him the tips. But yeah, that's a good point. He didn't necessarily, I wouldn't say he became more powerful, but maybe that's because he knew there were steps leading up to, they were going to figure more and more stuff out.
Right.
Luke was, and Luke would be the one to do it. Because
exactly.
He's figured out things in the Force that no one else did before. Obviously, in Legends, he figured out tons of things with the Force that no one did.
Legend Luke.
Yeah, for real. But even in the films, in Last Jedi, Force projecting himself, no one had done that as far as we know. And I think that, like, if anyone was going to figure out how to become a more powerful Force ghost, it would be Luke.
And then
he deserves that.
Exactly. I think it's something his character deserves, and I think it'd be a great way to really kind of curb some of the hate and, like, fault of his character.
I was about to say, is that fan service to a degree?
I sure hope there's fan service.
Because it would be fair.
To me, what this represents is maybe Luke comes back and he goes on a side mission by himself with R2-D2, which would be great because it'd explain why R2's not in the picture and anything else and any other important shots.
Yeah.
And him being with Luke is where he belongs. So if we could see this super powerful Luke Skywalker that exerts tons of energy, probably, I can't imagine appearing as a Force ghost is like easy does it.
Right.
That he's using all of his energy to help out because Luke is always about helping people, and then he's with his buddy R2, saving the world on a side mission is really what I'm thinking this photo represents, cool. And would be a great fan service and
get us some more Luke action that we were missing out on. He doesn't have a blue hue around him in the picture. That's why he doesn't look like a Force ghost, but that could be because, like you said, he's more powerful, doesn't show that as much, or because they edited it out.
Right.
Whatever.
So it could be interesting to see where this is going. I don't exactly know. Or it could be, just like Rogue One, where they're showing you crap that's not in the movie.
Yeah, there's a lot in Rogue One's trailer that didn't make the movie. So, the other thing too with R2 that I've seen is a lot of people have been saying, well, if this is Luke dead, then maybe that means R2's dead too.
It's R2's Force ghost.
R2's Force ghost, and that would just be awfully sad. They can't do us like that, yeah.
I guess if R2 does die, I do hope he gets a Force ghost. I don't know how that works.
No. Well, guys, that was everything that we picked out from some of those photos. Obviously, there's been lots of fun discussions so far on them, and if you have any further theories, we'd love to hear them in the comments. May the Force be with you guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe, because
it is your destiny.